What's up, guys? Welcome back. Today I bring you a new program that I think you're going to like. This one is the 2099 program based on the character of Spider Man 29 or Miguel Ojara from Spider Man Across the Spider Verse. If you watch that movie, the thing that everyone was pointing out, and if you frequent Instagram, you'll see a lot of edits of this character, is that Miguel O'Hara was absolutely fucking jacked. Like he was an absolute unit. When he was on screen, he was very imposing, and I think his physique played a huge, if not the complete role in that. On top of that, he's very tall, so a huge physique plus height is going to give you that type of sensation. So what we're going to do with this program is try to replicate his aesthetics with a bodybuilding program. I think that his physique is achievable naturally if you push yourself hard enough and dedicate enough time. Of course, in a couple of months, don't just run a program and wait that or expect that in a couple of months you're going to look just like the character. Give it time, give it dedication, give it consistency, effort, eat well, sleep well, and in a couple of years you're going to start approximating that. So it's a long-term thing. Now, before we start with the program, I'm going to detail the muscles we're going to work the most and the muscles we're going to put in the back burner and the muscles we're going to give it a moderate amount of work that we don't want to overdevelop, like the most important muscle groups, but we still want them to grow. So for the muscles we want to focus on the most is the back, so the traps, the mid traps, the lats, the rhomboids, and the spinal erectors, the shoulders as well. We want to focus on that, and the neck. The neck is going to complete the traps and it's going to give you a more jacked look when you're wearing clothes. Because unless you like to go around naked to places, you might be wearing shirts, and a huge neck is going to give you that illusion of being much more jacked than you really are. So it's always a plus. Now, for the muscles, we're going to keep a moderate amount. It's going to be the chest, the biceps, and the medial and the lateral head of the triceps. I forgot to mention the muscles we're going to work also the most is going to be the long head of the triceps, because it's going to give you that width from the side and it's going to make your arm look bigger in general. But for the biceps, although we are going to give it a moderate amount of work, we by no stretch of the imagination we want them to overdevelop to the same extent we want to overdevelop the triceps. Now, for the muscles we're going to neglect, I think you know where I'm going. It's going to be the legs. Now, the glutes are still going to get enough work. We're going to be doing a lot of unsupported rows and a little bit of deadlift, and of course some leg work as well. We're not going to remove it entirely, and that's going to feed volume into the glutes. But we don't want huge legs, because if you look at the character, he doesn't have huge legs, and that accentuates his V tapers. So keeping that in mind, we build the program around that, and it's going to allow you to, over time, if you put enough effort, enough consistency, sleep well, eat well, you're going to start approximating this style of physique. So without further delay, we can start. First thing I want to detail is the split. We're going to be doing an upper full body, arms and traps kind of split. It's a hybrid split. So basically, we're going to do an upper day, then we're going to take a rest day, then we're going to do a full body session, then a rest day, then we follow that up with an upper day, and then the last day of the week is going to be a weak point day. So, oh, sorry for that. So for most people, it's going to be an arm day, right? For upper lower or whatever. Most people have an arm day because that's a weak point for most people. Well, I encourage you to not just think about it in terms of upper lower arms or full body and arms. Think of as a weak point. If arms are not a weak point, then work something else. Work something that you're neglecting. Maybe your legs are an issue and you need to add more volume to that. Or maybe it's your chest, something like that. So try to incorporate into these days that are lower fatigue isolations for your weak points or the muscles you want to overdevelop, and that's going to allow you to, first of all, flush out some fatigue, but also accumulate extra tonnage for the muscles you want to grow. Of course, you're not going to be doing 1,000 sets in this case of arms and traps, but some extra isolation goes a long way. Now we're going to start with the first day. It's going to be an upper day. So because we have that emphasis on the triceps and not so much on the chest, we are going to first start off with a close grip bench press, a weighted dip, or if you want some extra chest work, you can do ring push-ups, 4 sets of 6 to 10. Also, if weighted dips give you sternum pain and you don't like a close grip bench, like in my case, I would do ring push-ups. Just make sure to have a neutral grip and to have a medium to close grip. You still want to get that full range of motion, but closing the grip a little is going to allow you to work more of the triceps because of the deeper arm bend. We're going to superset that with a holistic back builder, which is going to be either wide grip pull-ups or ring chin-ups. These are going to destroy your lats, but are also going to work the rest of your back as well, the mid back especially. 4 sets of 6 to 12. You can do this with weight, or you can do this with just body weight with a slow eccentric and a pause. This is your choice. For the wide grip pull-ups, I would recommend, because it's very easy to get injured with that, I would say just go body weight, goes with a slow eccentric, pause at the top, pause at the bottom. It's more than enough, and I don't think most people are going to surpass 12 reps with that tempo. So that's the first superset. We follow that up with seated military press, 80 press, or deficit handstand push-ups. Deficit handstand push-ups are very underrated. They are brutal as fuck, and they're going to give you a massive shoulder pump. Also, they are very convenient, so if you're training at home, you can try this. You can do your ring push-ups and your ring chin-ups, then you do your wide grip pull-ups, then you do your deficit handstand push-ups and superset that with inverted rows, for example, which leads us to the next movement we are going to superset with the vertical pressing, which is a rowing movement, either Helms rows, seal rows, or inverted rows. 3 sets of 8 to 12. The same goes with the vertical pressing. As you can see, with the vertical pressing, you can bump up the volume or reduce it depending on how much involvement your shoulders get with horizontal pressing. If you're doing ring push-ups, probably going to be minimal, so you can increase it a little bit here, go 4 sets or even 5 sets if you want to. So that's the first superset, the second superset, sorry. We're going to move to the third one, which is going to have bicep movements. It's going to be either incline curls or preacher curls supersetted with cable pushdowns. 4 sets, both of 8 to 15. The reasons why I chose incline curls or preacher curls instead of a mid-length or concentric focus movement is because your shoulders, not your elbows, are already warmed up enough so that you don't need like a warm-up exercise to jump into a stretch focus exercise. So we had the incline curls. For the cable pushdowns, this time we're going to work a little bit more holistically the triceps. You're still going to work your long head, but you're also going to work the lateral and the medial head of the triceps. And also this one is a little bit more elbow friendly. And on top of that, we have an arm day. So it's not the end of the world if we have less long head bias movements in the beginning of the week. We are going to cover that later. Then we have the fourth superset, which is going to be skiers, which is a very underrated movement if you do it properly. Pause at the top, slow down the eccentric to a crawl, and then pause at the bottom, and then do it again for 3 sets of 8 to 15. And then we have neck extensions, 3 sets of 10 to 20. That's going to absolutely work the traps to a certain extent, the neck extensions, and the rear delts with the face pulls or the skiers. So that's the first day. Overall, we cover everything about the upper body. The only thing missing is going to be the abs, which we're going to cover in, I think, the next day, which is the full body day. We start off with the first superset of a trap bias pull, which is going to be high bar trap bar deadlift or snatch grip deadlift, 4 sets of 4 to 8. This is not super heavy, but it's more intense than the rest of the program, and it's going to give you a massive weighted stretch on the traps. We want that. So then we superset that with neck curls and calf raises, 3 sets of 6 to 12 and 10 to 15 respectively. Then the next superset, I'm going to give you 3 options for an unsupported row. Now, each movement has its own benefits. The Herzoviak rows are going to be more of a hinged cheated row, which is going to have a higher weighted stretch. It's also going to work the posterior chain much more. The cons of this movement is that it's going to create more fatigue, of course, because you are going to have to use way more weight, and you're not going to get like tonnage at all for your teres major, for your lats, stuff like that. You're going to get mainly the stretch on the traps and on the rhomboids. The barbell rows are a good option if you want to emphasize more of the erectors because you have to stabilize a little bit more. Also, it's going to work a little bit extra the hamstrings. The only thing that I don't like about this movement is that you have to stabilize the bar so it doesn't move back and forth when you pull. And also you have to keep yourself very bent forward for it to feel good, if that makes sense. Also, don't go too heavy with this movement. I would say focus on pausing at the top, slowing down the eccentric. If you want to do it very cheated style to get the weighted stretch, I would say go for the Herzoviak rows, which are going to require way less weight. Um, Also, you can try barbell rows in a deficit. I'm not against them. It's just some food for thought there. Then we have the deficit TIVA rows, which I think is my most preferred option because you get a huge range of motion. You get a nice weighted stretch because it's length and focus. You use minimal amounts of weight. I myself don't use more than I think it's two and a half plates for deficit TIVA rows. What I like to do is do like 6 to 8 reps and then cheat the shit out of the movement for a couple extra, like 5, even 6 reps, and it fries your back every single set. Then the next day you're going to get massive upper back DOMs, especially in the mid back area. So really recommend it. 4 sets of 6 to 10. And again, if you want to go beyond failure in this movement, go ahead. I wouldn't recommend it for Herzoviak rows or barbell rows, but for deficit TIVA rows, for sure. Then we have supersetted with that, deficit decline push-ups or dumbbell incline press, 3 sets of as many reps as possible, or 8 to 12. This is just to add more upper chest volume and more shoulder volume as well. I think it's good to have some presses where you emphasize the upper chest because it doesn't get hit as good from the flat presses. And also we superset all of this with leg raises or decline sit-ups. Choose whatever, both are great. 3 sets of 10 to 15. They have a pretty good stretch on the abs, and they are very convenient, and you can superset them with practically anything. To finish off the full body day, we're going to do some legs with Bulgarian split squats, 3 to 4 sets of 10 to 15 on each side. We superset that with cable extensions, 4 sets of 8 to 15. And then we have dead hangs or reverse curls for 3 sets of 8 to 15, or as many seconds as possible. And now, as you can see, we have some extra isolation for the arms, but the main focus of this day was to really destroy that upper back with like compounds. Later, we're going to incorporate some shrugs as an isolation. But the first step to bringing out a lagging body part is to incorporate bias movements, bias compounds, it would be for that specific muscle group. And then the next step is to add isolation. So the Bulgarian split squats also, I want to talk about this type of movement because it is really good. It's going to it's going to require little volume, but it's going to absolutely wreck you. Like someone that does Bulgarian split squats looks at this and is like, this guy is insane. Like 4 sets of Bulgarian split squats, yes. But someone that hasn't done Bulgarian split squats is looking at it and is like, yeah, I think it's fine. But those who know how painful it is. So definitely incorporate split squats into your routine. You're going to save a lot of time, save a lot of fatigue because you need minimal amounts of weight, and you're going to get a huge stimulus from this. Highly recommended. It's the ring push-up equivalent for legs, if you will. Now we move on to the next upper day, which is after rest day. We're going to have the upper two. We start off with a vertical press, either OHP, 80 press, or deficit handstand push-ups. I added the OHP because some people like to push OHP for hypertrophy. I think that it makes more sense to do the other 2 options, but hey, if you like the OHP, go ahead, do it. I don't think it's anything wrong. 6 to 10 reps or as many reps as possible in the case of the handstand push-ups. 4 sets, supersetted with L-sit chin-ups. We have spinal flexion. This movement is mainly for the lats. It's going to pretty much destroy it with just 3 sets, especially if you slow down that eccentric. It is also going to work your core to a high degree, so you need a lot of stabilization in that regard. What you can do is start off with your legs completely straight and do your pull-ups like that. And as your abs get tired, what you can do is put your knees in front of you, like start bending your knees and put them in front of your chest, so you involve less and less abs, and you can keep pushing the lats to failure. For this movement, again, I really recommend having a posterior pelvic tilt and also slow down the eccentric, like really slow it down. You're going to get a massive stretch. You're not going to regret it. So that's the first superset, is shoulders and lats. Then we move on to chest and upper back. It's going to be the barrel press or ring push-ups. That's going to absolutely destroy your chest. Is again Bulgarian split squats level of efficiency, 3 to 5 sets of 8 to 12, or as many reps as possible in the case of the ring push-ups. You can do any variation you like. That's going to really focus on destroying your chest. We superset this with inverted rows or cable rows. I prefer inverted rows because cable rows, kind of awkward. 3 sets of 8 to 15. So we basically add some extra tonnage to the rhomboids, the mid back in general, some extra volume also for the traps in some regard. Then we have another superset, which is purely neck. It's going to be neck curls and neck extensions, 3 sets of 10 to 20. And then we have the last superset, which is going to be skiers and face pulls, skiers or face pulls, and leg raises or decline sit-ups. So we basically cover the whole upper body in this day, and we don't have any arm isolation because this is what we're going to do the next day. We're going to start off with a tricep compound, quote unquote, or an overloading isolation is what I call cable pushdowns, because we're going to basically choose a tricep variation, tricep isolation that is going to allow us to move the most amount of weight in the case of the cable pushdowns. I don't think there's anything wrong with even doing them a little bit cheated, or even like a lot of people complain of people doing pushdowns like if it were a press on the concentric. This is what we want right here. We're going to start off doing that. We want to start off doing like a pseudo press with the cable pushdowns, and then slow down the eccentric properly, and do the eccentric properly, and get that nice long head stretch, but get that nice like lateral head and medial head contraction when we do the cable press downs, if you will. You can even use a straight bar if you want to. I prefer to use ropes, but yeah, choose the attachment that's going to allow you to move the most amount of weight, and it's also going to give you a nice long head stretch. You can do that, or you can just straight up do a Smith machine JM press, which is going to work the lateral head, the long head, and the medial head. It's going to focus mostly on the stretch on the long head, and then on the contraction, it's going to work the medial head and the lateral head. We superset that with incline curls and or cable curls, 4 sets of 10 to 15, and 4 sets of 10 to 15 or 6 to 10. And we superset that with the first trap isolation, which is going to be shrugs, where you lay in an incline bench, like you lay against the bench and you grab a heavy pair of dumbbells and you shrug like very strictly, like you shrug, you pause, and then you let it stretch, and then you shrug again, and you're going to do shrugs like that. If you want to do like a quote unquote assisted concentric, you can do that, like you can do the incline shrugs, and then once you fail, you can do partials, and then you can step out of the bench, grab the dumbbells again, and do cheated shrugs if you want to add even more beyond failure stuff. But I would say with just the failure and the partials, it's going to be a-okay. Now, the second superset is going to have hammer curls and reverse curls. This count hammer curls and reverse curls and the dead hangs as forearm work for those of you that want to know. 3 to 5 sets of 8 to 15. Then we have cable extensions or easy bar lying extensions, depending on how good your elbows feel after the main movement. It's going to be 3 to 5 sets. This is where we are going to get the most tonnage. Sorry, there was a mistake here. It's supposed to be There we go. It's probably going to look in the PDF because I already uploaded. It's going to look like that, but it's just 8 to 12 of the EC bar line extensions or cable extensions, 3 to 5 sets. Then we superset that with Kelso shrugs, 3 sets of 8 to 15. This is great to get a nice stretch on the traps. And it's also going to allow us to accumulate a lot of reps. So that's the second superset, and then we have the third superset, which is going to consist of EC bar curls. You can use the same EC bar you use for the line extensions if the weight is correct. 3 sets of 8 to 12 pullovers with the same EC bar. 2 to 4 sets of 8 to 15. This is to add more lats volume and a little bit extra long head because it also targets it. And dead hangs as extra forearm volume. 3 sets of as many reps as possible. Overall, this day is to focus on, of course, the arms, and also add some extra trap isolation for you to accumulate tonnage and progress on. So yeah, that's the whole plan for look like this guy right here. We basically do this day is a general day, if you will. This one is more lat focused. This one is for upper back, this full body session, and also hit a little bit extra of legs. If you want, you can add some hamstring isolation. I personally don't think this program needs it because you already are doing a lot of sets of deadlift. But if you want to, go ahead. You can do the snatch grip deadlift if you want to just pull from the floor. And then for the arms and traps, we target the overdeveloped muscle groups. So overall, I'd say it's a pretty good program. I would like to hear your thoughts. It's going to be available in the description like all the other programs. I hope you like it. And again, tell me your thoughts and comments below. Thanks for watching.